make a post on Facebook.
All right.
So what happened to Compton Smith?
He got in a really bad car accident yesterday, or late. Was it late Monday night? Um, they had to hit an 18 wheeler. Had to amputate his left arm above the elbow.
Oh my God!
I know. Sucks.
Wow, that's awful.
I know. It's terrible.
Damn.
Like I don't. Like this whole year can just go straight to hell. I'm done with this year.
Well, thankfully it's almost over.
So much tragedy.
Uh,
How much tragedy can you fit into 1 year?
yeah, yeah. Well, hopefully 2022 will just be better overall.
It's gotta be. It's been a pretty shit couple of years.
Let's see. We're Jak Daxter for PS2. All right, post that.
Not a whole ton of news this week, but got 4 good stories in here.
Yeah, I was not expecting that poster to drop today.
Yeah, me neither.
And of course, they're like, "Oh, the trailer will drop tomorrow during the
Yeah,
Game Awards," and I'm
of
like,
course, the day
the stuff
after.
all, yeah, it always happens the day after we do the show.
Yep.
Okay, so I got my tabs open. Oh, I need to open this last one. Luckily, when I reopened Safari, it had all my tabs still open. So okay. All right, well, I am all set if you are.
Yes, sir. I'm good to
Okay.
go.
All right.
All right, here we go. In three, two, one. Greetings, programs, and we are back for another episode of the Nerd Cave Retro Show. My name is Jason Robbins.
And my name is Derek Diamond.
Yeah, it is. So
Yeah, something like that.
how's your holidays been so far? It's the Christmas season, but I'll be honest, it doesn't really feel like Christmas this year.
I mean, it's been okay. I mean, I've hopefully have all my Christmas shopping wrapped up this week. I
I
haven't done a
haven't even
ton of.
started.
I haven't done a lot of, like in person shopping as far as actually buying stuff. Most of the big stuff I bought has been online just because it's been a lot easier, and I've been home a lot more, working from home and everything, so it just
Yeah.
makes it easier to just go online, whether it's Amazon, wherever the case may be, and just get stuff there and have it delivered to your doorstep.
Yeah, I actually haven't even started, and yeah, I'm starting to panic. Like I don't know what to get anybody this year.
No, I go through that struggle every year. It's like I try and be, more as I've gotten older. I've tried to get more thoughtful gifts, in the sense where it's like I might make something for someone, or have like an artist do some type of like a painting, or do some type of cool, photograph or something like that. Whereas more sentimental and thoughtful gifts is just buying something for the sake of buying something.
Yeah, I wish I had time to do that. I would just paint people stuff, but I don't have time.
I don't have the ability, so we're in kind of the same predicament. But yeah,
Played it.
other than that,
I was gonna
go
say, you
ahead.
played anything interesting this week?
I've been playing a lot of the game that I'll be actually reviewing tonight, Jak and Daxter for the PlayStation 2. I mentioned it either last week or the week before that I got a bundle on the PlayStation Store. You get all four Jak and Daxter games for $20,
Nice.
and I've spent a lot of time playing through the original, and I beat it, when I played it years ago when it first came out, but this is the first time I've played it in close to 20 years.
Wow.
So I've had a lot of fun going back and playing it. And that's really been about it. I've been doing some freelance projects as well. That's kind of taken up some more of my time, and getting stuff ready for the new show launch and everything. So
Yeah, you've
it's
been
it's
busy.
been it, yeah, it's been. I've got 4 interviews in the can already, and I've got two that I'm doing tomorrow, and then one next week. So
Wow.
I should be set for a bit.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, no, it's been a busy week or so, but it's been the good kind of busy. What about you?
I don't know why, but I started playing Spider-Man again on the PS4, and that's just a good game.
Great game,
I mean,
great game.
not much else to say about it. It's just a great game. I just went back in and started playing it again for no reason. Just felt like it.
Did you ever play the Spider-Man game for the PlayStation 2 that was released in conjunction with the original movie?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
I've been getting a craving to go back and play that game. And I
I
don't
think
know if it's because the new movie's coming out, but
I
I've been
think you
thinking about that game
should.
quite a bit.
I remember playing that game and liking it a lot. Wasn't that was the one that had the Bruce Campbell did the tutorial, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think you should definitely go back and revisit that one.
Yeah, I think I might. And I've been going back and I watched the Sam Raimi trilogy last week. Had they kept that series going, I would have loved if Bruce Campbell turned out to be that universe's Mysterio.
Yeah, no, that's what everybody was kind of expecting him to be if it would have kept going. It would have made sense.
But they set that up, and they also set up the Lizard because Kurt Connors was in Spider-Man
Yeah,
2 and 3, but they just never materialized.
yeah,
So
coulda, woulda, shoulda.
yeah,
Oh, I started watching Arcane on Netflix. Have you watched that yet?
I haven't, but I've heard great things about it.
It's so good. Like I didn't give a crap. I don't give a crap about League of Legends. Like there's nothing about that game that makes me want to play it. Plus, I've just heard too many awful things about the player base and stuff like that. But I heard good things about Arcane, so I fired up the first episode, got through with that one, watched the second episode, and I watched the third episode. I got like 2 episodes left, and I gotta say, dude, that show is excellent.
Like I said, I've heard nothing but good things about it on Facebook, Twitter, Rotten Tomatoes. I think the audience score is at like a 96,
It's
which is
great.
insane.
I know it's so good, and it actually makes me interested in. They are making who is it? Riot Games that makes them. Is it Riot Games
I
who
can't
who
remember.
does League of Legends? Well, they're making an MMO called Arcane, which I think is set in that universe. I'm there.
Okay.
I'm definitely going to play that when it comes out.
Yeah, for sure.
That is a
I did.
world I want to explore.
Yeah, I need to watch that very soon because it's one of those things that I've heard so much good about it that I'm curious as to whether or not it lives up to the hype, and that curiosity alone is what's going to get me to watch it.
Yeah.
I did start watching. Have you watched Only Murders in the Building?
No, I haven't heard good things though.
I've only watched the first episode, but I really liked it, and I really enjoyed both Steve Martin and Martin Short, and they've been in a lot of great things,
Well, it's already been
all by
greenlit for a
themselves.
second season, so I know if
Yep.
it's already been greenlit, then the first season's got to be good. So
And surprisingly, Selena Gomez is really good in that show
that's what
too.
I've heard. That's
So
weird.
I recommend that. No, it's one of those things because I'm writing a murder mystery whodunit script,
Mhm.
so I've been watching movies like Knives Out, watched The Maltese Falcon the
Mhm.
other night too. So I've been doing a lot of research on that type of storytelling.
That's cool.
So yeah, something a little different.
So we both got homework this week. I'll finish up Arcane and start watching Only Murders in the Building, and you definitely need to watch Arcane. Anybody out there that's a video game fan, like just that style of animation is gorgeous. Like I want a whole Star Wars series in that style of animation.
Oh, that'd be great.
Oh, it's so good. Like it's almost like painted. Like it's so gorgeous.
That's what's a great thing about the advancement in animation technology, because I still love the old hand drawn animation because that's what I grew up with. But animation, like you mentioned with Arcane,
Yeah.
that wouldn't have been possible,
Hmm.
years ago. But now that it is, like that style is just so it draws you in,
Oh yeah,
essentially.
definitely.
Yeah.
But definitely go check it out there if you haven't seen it yet. It's on Netflix called Arcane. Just go check out the first episode. The first episode doesn't grab you, it's not going to, because it's pretty much that throughout. So it starts off with a bang. So if you're not caught by the first episode, then you don't have to go any further. But I guarantee you, it'll grab you.
Yeah, I'll check it out this weekend.
But you ready to move into the news this evening?
We got some good stuff to talk about.
Yes, sir. Come on. Come on. There we go. Stupid soundboard. This is from, and of course, all the our stories tonight were submitted to us by you, the listeners. A couple of tonight's stories were submitted by Armez Jackson, one of our patrons. And if you have a story you'd like us to cover, send them to nerdcaveretro@gmail.com. Tonight's first story comes from NintendoEnthusiast.com. Paper Mario joins Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack next week. Nintendo has announced that Paper Mario from Nintendo 64 is joining Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack next week. It is the famous first entry into its franchise, an RPG developed by Intelligent Systems that uses a paper art aesthetic to tell an epic story. It is the second role-playing game to star Mario, following Super Mario RPG from Squaresoft on the Super Nintendo in 1995. So what do you think about? Does this make you any more curious to get the Nintendo expansion pack or no?
No. And
Yeah.
not that's not a knock on Paper Mario because I like that game a lot.
Yeah.
And its sequel for the GameCube is just as good, if not better. That paper style I had never really seen before when it comes to graphics for a video game. And it also came along, for the US. This was at the tail end of the N64 lifespan. Like this and Conker's Bad Fur Day were really the swan song
Yeah.
for the N64. If I already had the expansion pack, then I would be ecstatic, but it's not going to persuade me to get it because I have a copy for my N64. So if I
Yeah.
want to play it, I can just play it on that.
And I definitely don't think Nintendo's going to be in any hurry to make this online expansion pack any better. I mean, they've already pretty much all but abandoned Nintendo and Super Nintendo online. So, what makes me think they'll be any better with the N64 library?
Yeah, it says here this marks the first time that an update to Nintendo Switch Online consists of a single game. That really doesn't bode well for the future of updates to the service, especially as updates to NSO have been sparse affairs in the first place.
Yeah.
Which there are more games coming, which include Majora's Mask, Mario Golf, Pokemon Snap, F Zero X, Kirby 64, and Banjo Kazooie. Again, several of those games I like, but I have them for other systems
Yeah,
that
Nintendo
I can still play. So
seriously needs somebody in that organization that understands the online community and knows what is possible as far as an online presence, because I'm sorry Nintendo, but your online presence is laughable at this point.
and the thing is, you look at the way they handled the virtual console on the Wii.
I
It
know.
was it was great, but they went away from that format and I don't know why.
Even their store, the online store, the Switch store,
The eShop,
the eShop is
yeah.
a horrible, janky mess. And I don't know
Yeah,
who designed it, but they need to be fired and replaced immediately.
and maybe flogged.
Yeah, flogged in the street.
Well, we can with Nintendo is you can only hope for the best when it comes to their online
Yeah.
capabilities.
I'm kind of
But
excited
let
about the Sony thing. I'm gonna wait and see what Sony's new online presence looks like in the next couple of months.
yeah, same. I'm what they could do, and I don't know what they're going to do, but it could be very interesting
I mean, if they
for
just
sure.
can do what Microsoft is doing and offer, a good portion of the original PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 libraries on there, dude, they're going to give Microsoft a run for their they'll win this console generation and probably the next one if they do that.
Yeah, I think so too. So this was a breaking news story that happened this morning, much to my surprise, from comicbook.com. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 releases first poster. The upcoming sequel movie, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, has officially released its very first poster, but that's not all. The poster release also confirmed that the world premiere of the first trailer for the movie is set to take place tomorrow, December 9th, during the Game Awards. The poster itself shows off returning characters and prominently features Tails, who is set to take a starring role in the new film after featuring in the original movie Stinger. So when I first saw this poster after my initial geeking out, because one, it's a great looking poster. I think the
I know what
composition
I know what you're
of
about to say, but go ahead.
the composition is great. Like it looks like it could be the cover of a Sonic the Hedgehog video game.
Yeah.
And there's so much to dissect if you're a Sonic fan. First, Tails is flying the tornado, which is his biplane he uses in the later games. If you look over Sonic's right shoulder, you see what looks like a buzz bomber from the original game, but with the design of Robotnik's machines that you saw in the first movie. But the most important thing is Jim Carrey has gone full on Robotnik with bald head, big
Dr.
mustache.
Eggman.
Yeah, he's not Robotnik. He's full on Dr. Eggman. I love this poster so much. Like I would get a full size version of this and hang it up in my house.
Yeah. I still
Like
don't
that.
understand why Tails needs a biplane because he can fly on his own.
Well, he gets tired.
Okay.
uh, but the a cool little side note because I think this broke after we did last week's show. Colleen O'Shaughnessy, who has voiced Tails in the video game since 2014, is going to be doing the voice of Tails in the movie,
Oh,
which I
nice.
think is really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I just they used her in the stinger at the end of the first movie, and I was hoping that they wouldn't replace her, but they officially announced that she is going to be back. So she it's really cool because it's very rare for a character has a certain voice in a video game.
Yeah.
Normally it changes in a movie adaptation. So
I'm definitely excited to see the trailer for it tomorrow. I wish they would have released it today so we could talk about it.
I know it because now I have to wait a full week to
I
to
know.
talk about it. But
Did you see the new Book of Boba Fett trailer that was released
yes,
today?
I cannot wait
I'm
for
so
that show.
excited.
I know it's if you've never watched the Boba Fett special that's on Disney Plus, it's really good.
Oh yeah, I did.
Uh,
I watched it the day it came out.
I love that within the first 2 minutes they were like, "Yeah, Boba Fett didn't really do anything, but people loved him for some reason,"
Everybody
which is
loves him.
true. Yeah, but I don't know entirely what to expect from the trailer. I do think we will get a look at Knuckles,
Yeah.
but I think it'll be if it's just like a reveal shot and maybe one or two action shots and a line or two of Idris Elba is all I need.
I think it's just going to be a teaser. I don't think they're going to give us much at all, honestly.
Yeah, because the movie comes out in April, so there's still
Yeah, we still got
4
4
months.
months.
Yeah, so I think February is when we might see the, or maybe early March is when we'll see the final full trailer.
Yeah. I say
But I
probably February we'll get full on trailers.
but I mean everybody who listens to this show knows I'm really excited for this movie.
Yeah.
It's going to be an opening night viewing for me. I love the first one, and I think this has the potential to be even better because it looks like what we've been saying since the first movie came out is this is going to be more along the lines of what we saw in the video games.
Oh yeah. That's what I'm hoping for. Like we already got established that the first movie being set in the real world, but knowing that all this other crazy stuff exists, like, and you make us okay with that. Now you can go just balls out crazy with it, and let us see all the crazy Sonic craziness, basically.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we're okay with it. We've established that it exists. Let's go there.
it's going to be a fun movie, and I can't wait for it to come out.
Oh, I'm so ready to see Jim Carrey full on Eggman.
Oh, it's gonna be great. Like he was the highlight. No, if anyone who's listening to this has not seen the original Sonic movie, do yourself a favor and watch it. It's way better than it has any right to be.
Yeah.
And the highlight is Jim Carrey as Robotnik was awesome.
Yep. Our next story comes from one of our favorite sites, NintendoLife.com. NES classic Battletoads is getting a physical re-release, but only in Japan. Battletoads is one of Rare's most beloved games from the NES era. I don't know if it's a beloved game from the NES. That's a bold statement. Say it's
Maybe
beloved.
polarizing would have been the more accurate.
An attempt to create a media brand that could rival the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Battletoads mixed platforming and with side-scrolling combat and is famous for its unforgiving difficulty level. Columbus Circle, the Japanese firm famous for its retro hardware and physical re-releases, is republishing the Famicom version of the game. It's under license from Extreme, the company which owns the rights of Messiah NCS, the original publisher of the game in Japan back in the early 90s. Let's see. Battletoads was published by Tradewest in the U.S., but it is the current status of the company is unclear, but it doesn't appear to be in business anymore. So it is not going to be available in America, only in Japan, which is kind of sucks. But at the same time, like I don't know if I would buy a new physical release of Battletoads today. Like it's one of those games like it's kind of fun to go back and play every once in a while, but it's too hard. Like it's just too ridiculously hard.
I like to think it's not gonna be released in the US because it's just too traumatizing.
Yeah,
Because
pretty much.
I've tried playing Battletoads myself, and we talk about there's different levels of difficulty. There's difficulty that motivates you to beat the game, and then there's difficulty that just makes you quit.
Yeah.
This is difficulty that makes you quit.
Well, it's one of
I
those games. Oh, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say like I like the idea of Battletoads, and I think had maybe there been a little bit of a different time or different marketing, I could have seen Battletoads taking off more in the mainstream world. Not to the effect that Ninja Turtles did,
Yeah.
but like I could have pictured a Battletoads cartoon.
Well, it's definitely one of those games. Like I think they did do a cartoon, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken, but
did
it
they?
didn't take off or anything. But it's definitely one of those games that it throws too many different play styles at you. Like the game starts off as a side scroller, then the second level is you're on a rope going down a well into the earth, and then you go to the turbo tunnel. And once you think the turbo tunnel would be the hard, like that would be in a normal game, that would be like the final level. But no, it's the third level in the game. And the things you have to go through to get to the end of the game, like the snake stuff you got to go through, the sewer stuff you got to go through, and it's all different. It's like swimming levels, and the snakes you got to go, like the weird snake stuff you got to do, and it's like it doesn't give you any sort of like training up to that point of like, oh, here's what you're going to be doing next. Here's what's going to prepare you for what you're about to do. No, it just throws all these different styles of game at you and gives you no uh, like you're just thrown to the wolves. Like each level, you're thrown to a different pack of wolves, basically.
I couldn't have said it better myself. And you were right. There was a Battletoads animated series.
Yeah,
Came out in 1992, and I just saw the opening title card, and I remember that now. So that was on me for not remembering it. But
that's all right.
you know, yeah, it was actually created by Dick, which made several great cartoons back in the 90s. It was made in an attempt to capitalize on Ninja Turtles, but
Yeah,
I mean, that's a cartoon that you're just not going to compete with.
I think if they would have kept this game, the first level of the game is pretty good. It's just basically you're kind of platforming, and there's some good play style in there, kind of beat 'em up, side scrolling stuff going on. But if they would have just kind of kept that aesthetic through the game and then threw in little things that to get harder and harder, as far as being preparing yourself for the turbo tunnel and things of that nature, like I think it would be more well looked upon. But it's just way too difficult, way too fast, and I don't know anybody that ever made it past the turbo tunnel, honestly.
It's memorable, but not memorable in the way that it
It's all,
should be.
it's only memorable because nobody could do anything in it.
It's like, oh, you remember Battletoads? Yeah, it was that really hard game from the 90s. I
Yeah.
hate that game. And our last news story comes to us once again from NintendoLife.com. Arcade Paradise will play on our 90s nostalgia next spring. We've written about Arcade Past a few times this year, and now publisher Wired Productions, along with developer Nosebleed Interactive, has released a new trailer and confirmed more details. For one thing, it's due in spring 2022, having at one point been planned for late this year. It's a game that leans heavily on 90s arcade culture, which could definitely be rather fun as you try to run a laundromat while simultaneously converting it into a rad arcade. A big part of the game, seemingly, is that you'll be able to play the 30 plus arcades, which will be games riffing on that era. It says here you'll be playing as Ashley, your father, has gone to the Riviera and given you the keys to his laundry business, tasking you to run the day to day operations. Rather than washing rags, you decide to turn the family laundromat into the ultimate arcade. You have over 35 to choose from, which will be inspired by a generation of arcade games from the 80s and 90s and feature newly created classics such as Knuckles and Knees, Zombat 2, Wood Gal's Adventure, Vostok 2093, Gravichase, and the Bodacious Racer Chaser in full 3D. And there will be a physical version too, which this does sound very intriguing.
It sounds fun. It sounds almost like
Yeah.
like Roller Coaster Tycoon, but it's an
Yes.
arcade.
Yeah, I was thinking of like Sim City,
Yeah,
Roller Coaster Tycoon type of game.
and I
So
love those
this would
type
be
of games. I love those simulation type of games. Like this sounds like something I could sink a lot of time into, especially since you can actually play these little games that you put in your arcade. That's cool.
yeah. I'm skimming through the trailer right now, and I see games like like Double Dragon, RC Pro Am, like those style of games. So it looks really cool. I dig it.
So I'm not sure what it doesn't exactly say what it's going to come out for, but I think it's going to be pretty much everywhere because it says PlayStation. It probably coming to definitely coming to Steam. I know that. I'm interested to see if it's going to come to the Switch
It
or
is on the
not.
Switch. There's a link to it.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah,
So it should be roughly about 30. It says $29.99 in American cash.
yeah, which I think is fair.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. All
Yeah, and
right.
the trailer looks really cool. So I'd be very interested to check this out. Okay, so the graphic at the end of the trailer had the Switch. Let me go back to it. Okay, Switch, PlayStation 4 and 5, and looks like Steam.
It's pretty much everywhere. Didn't say Xbox, does it?
Mm, no.
Hmm. I have a feeling it's going to drop on Game Pass.
Yeah, I can't see why it wouldn't.
Yeah. Well, that does it for the news this week. Let's go ahead and move into this month on video game history. On December 1st of 1991, LucasArts releases Monkey Island 2: LeChuck's Revenge for Amiga, MS-DOS, Macintosh, and FM Towns.
One of the classic point and click
Oh,
adventure
yeah.
games.
I want to go back and review these Monkey Island games, actually.
I just love the name LeChuck.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I threw it on here. But I've said this before, but I don't have a ton of experience in the point and click games. Like I'm well aware of them. I know that they're popular, but I can't really think of one that I've ever played.
I love me some point and click adventures.
And they seem fun.
Yeah,
So
maybe you should review it.
yeah, we'll see. I mean, we could always do a dual review.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah. That way you could get the experienced outlook and the
Yeah.
newcomers outlook. On December 4th of 1991, Konami releases Super Castlevania 4 for SNES in North America. So I had a love-hate relationship with this game. Like I like the Castlevania games, but they don't seem to like me.
Yeah. Well, they're not for the
So
faint of heart.
no, they're not. I like Castlevania 4 for what it is. It is challenging, but I do like the game.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely takes what they did for the Castlevania games, like especially the first Castlevania for the NES, and then just beefed it up for the Super
Yep.
Nintendo, and just made it
Yep.
all around better. Like being able to shoot your whip diagonally was just that alone made the game so much better.
Yeah.
Yep.
Agreed.
All the Mode 7 stuff they did in it. That game's great.
Mm-hmm.
December 3rd of 1996, LucasArts releases Star Wars Shadows of the Empire for the N64, which still angers me to this day that Disney has wiped Shadows of the Empire out of the canon of the Star Wars story. Which, why? Why would you do that, Disney?
My first introduction into the extended universe of Star Wars, and I'm sure it was for a lot of people. I remember playing this game for the first time like it was yesterday
Yeah.
because it had the Star Wars title to it, so obviously I had to get my hands on it.
Well,
But
they pushed this game. I mean, not it wasn't just a game. It was a whole media blitz.
it was a book, it was
Yeah.
a graphic novel, an audiobook.
Comic
It
books,
Yeah, it
everything,
was.
toy line. I mean, they
Yep.
treated this thing like it was a full-on Star Wars movie release, and it was it kept Star Wars alive in the '90s. And
Hmm.
then Disney's like, nah, it doesn't count. Like, ugh, screw you, Mickey.
I don't understand it. I just remember playing the game for the first time, and you start in the when you're in the Hoth base after the Empire's taking it over, and you just get thrown to the wolves
Yeah,
against the freaking ATST walker. But
uh,
yet, crazy thing is, this game's 25 years old now,
man,
right?
poor
And
Dash
speaking,
Rendar. Dash Rendar deserves better.
which is weird because his ship is in A New Hope in the
I
special
know.
edition. You see it leaving Mos Eisley. It's pointed out that that is his freaking ship,
Yeah.
but it's not canon. That the story is not canon. I do not understand it. I think it's wrong.
Hmm.
But speaking of Star Wars, on December 7th of 1998, Factor 5 and LucasArts release Star Wars Rogue Squadron for the Nintendo 64, which also spawns some pretty good sequels for the GameCube.
Still one of my favorite games for the N64. One of the very first games I ever bought for the N64 was Rogue Squadron.
Oh yeah, this game is great. I like all the Rogue Squadron
I
games.
just remember playing that game so much back then, and I even had the expansion pack for the
Hmm.
Nintendo 64 at the time that you could boost the RAM on your N64, so you could get what, like 8 megabytes of RAM instead of 4, and it made the
Yep.
graphics better. I was like, oh, we're this never gonna get better than this.
It's just like the what 2 or 3 megabytes of storage from a floppy disk.
Yeah. Oh man, if we this is so crazy because I we really did think that back then. Like, man, graphics are never gonna get better than this. And go back and look at it now, it's like, ugh, it's like somebody
You're just like
vomited on the screen.
you're like, oh my eyes,
It's so hideous.
it's so bad. Uh,
Let's see. December 3rd of 2001, Super Smash Bros. Melee is released for the GameCube in North America. Probably the best Smash Brothers game that's ever been released, at least in my opinion.
and I don't disagree with that. I like all the other games. To me, there is not a bad Smash Brothers game out there, and they all have their pros and cons. But Melee has the best gameplay. Yeah, compared to the later games that doesn't have as big of a character selection. But you look at
But it's
the
still
game.
used in tournaments, so it's
Yes,
like,
yeah, it's still the standard bearer of Super Smash Brothers because the gameplay is so crisp.
yeah.
You can't really find any flaws in it. You
And
know,
that
with
controller, that
yep,
GameCube controller, chef's
there
kiss.
there's a reason that every system after the GameCube had a GameCube adapter because
Yeah.
the controller was still used for games like Brawl, for Smash Brothers for the Wii U, and even Ultimate for the Switch. You know, they released a GameCube controller and an adapter for that because that's how much that controller is still used to this day.
We should have a roundtable discussion. Get a couple of people here on the show and just talk about what we think is the greatest game controller of all time.
That's a great idea. I mean, I
Because
know
they all
mine
have their
easily.
merits. Don't get me wrong. I think we could pretty much go ahead and say the N64 is one of the worst. It went from the worst to the best in one game console generation.
Yeah, I'd save my full reason for that episode, but I mean, my choice would be the GameCube controller
Yeah.
just because it's perfect.
I don't know. I think the worst game controller of all time is still the original Atari joystick. Like, that thing just sucked.
Yeah, yeah, it's either that or I don't like the original Xbox controller, but that's also because I have small
You
hands.
talking about the big can? The what do they call it? The Duke.
Yeah, the Duke.
Me and Wally call it the canned ham because we were like, man, it feels like you're holding a canned ham. But I
It
got
really
big
did.
hands, so I love the original Xbox controller. I wish they would still make them, even just for like, as a Bluetooth device. I would buy one just to use like with my Switch.
It's like 3 times the size of my hand.
I don't know. That was the first controller I ever played on the Xbox, so I kind of fell in love with it.
I do like the Xbox 360 controller a
Yeah,
lot.
that was a really good controller.
Yeah. But to close us out for this month in video game history, on December 3rd of 2001, Naughty Dog releases Jak and Daxter: The Precursor Legacy for the PlayStation 2, which
Hmm.
I'm going to talk about momentarily.
Yes. And before we do that, we like to shout out our patrons who are lovely people that give us money every single month. They keep us above that $50 level so that we do those commentary tracks every single month. And I just dropped the Toy Story commentary track on the regular podcast feed this last week, and that was a really fun episode to do because, good Lord, Wally's Disney and Pixar. He's like a Rolodex of just facts and stuff.
Yeah, I love having Wally on. I mean, I love having him on for all the commentary tracks, but especially the Disney ones because he just pulls little tidbits from out of nowhere and you're like, "Holy crap, I
How,
had no idea that was even a thing."
how did you know that? Why
Yeah,
would anybody know that?
I mean, I thought I was fairly knowledgeable about Toy Story, but I felt like I just come from a like a college class.
But
after that commentary track.
we like to do our shout outs. And Derek, would you like to do the honors of shouting out our lovely patrons?
Absolutely. We want to shout out the fact checker to the fact checker, Mr. Tyler Watson, Axblade07, Daniel Salmon, Armez Jackson, Hand Solo, Carlos Longoria, aka Rampage, Staff Sergeant Sketch, Brandon Rutledge, Gus and Penny, Matthew Salmon, Joey Image, Ron Johnson, Mixmaster, and Mr. Mike Eveland. Thank you all so much for your continued contributions. And if you want to be a part of our awesome Patreon community, just head on over to patreon.com/nerdcaveretro, where you get early access to the fun commentary tracks like Toy Story, like Clue, Big Trouble in Little China. I know we've got to decide what we're going to do
Oh
for
shoot!
December.
I forgot to do that. I'll text you and Wally tomorrow. We'll put in our stuff, and I'll put up the Patreon poll tomorrow night for our December commentary track.
Yep. So if you're a patron, be on the lookout for that within the next day or so. And you just get, you get to vote on what we review. Every now and then we post a poll asking you guys, what would you like us to review? So if you want to be a part of that awesome community, as I said, head over to patreon.com/nerdcaveretro. And for new patrons, be sure to send us your social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, so we can give you a proper shout out.
And tonight Derek is going to be talking about it's hard to find some good music to what I wanted to use for the intro to this because all of it's good.
Yeah, it's got a very distinct sound to it that I compare to another Naughty Dog franchise that
Yeah, it's
I'll get to.
kind of dark and like almost like islandy and moody. It's weird. I like it a lot.
It's got a nice mix of a little more jovial, but also kind of a darker feel as well.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned a few minutes ago, I'm going to be talking about Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy, which was released by Naughty Dog for the PlayStation 2, December 3rd, 2001. So just hit the 20-year anniversary of this game. And I'll be honest, I haven't really thought about Jak and Daxter all that much in the 20-year gap between its release and the past couple of weeks when I've been playing it. And it's been one of those games that I think of it, very selectively. Like I do think about it on occasion, but it's in passing. Like, oh, I remember that game, but then I just think about something else. But with us now talking about PlayStation 2 games, I know we've mentioned Kingdom Hearts and a couple of other games as well. I remember Jak and Daxter. So I've been playing it the last couple of weeks, and a flood of memories came back as I was starting to play this because this came out, post Crash Bandicoot. I believe Crash Bandicoot 4 had already come out, and Naughty Dog was no longer making those games. So this to me was their answer of what they were going to do post Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
And, we know Naughty Dog for much different types of games now, but they were still in that platforming era. And when you dive into the world of Jak and Daxter, you get reminded of Crash Bandicoot because the graphics are a little bit improved over the original run of Crash Bandicoot games. But the music to me, some of the beats, especially when you're in the jungle portion early on in the game, hearing those beats takes me back to that world. But it's not a Crash Bandicoot clone.
It's got the same kind of art style, though.
It does. It very much does. Some of the environments look similar, but the story is very different in the sense that it focuses on the main protagonist. His name is Jak. At the beginning of the game, he and his friend Daxter sneak over to this island called Misty Island, just they're teenagers and someone tells them to do something. Basically, they're under the tutelage of Samos the Sage, who is the master of this mysterious energy called eco that you learn about as the game progresses, because there are different types of eco that you use for different abilities. So they go over to Misty Island because they were told not to, and Daxter falls into this pit of dark eco and turns into a fictional character called an Otzel, which is half otter, half weasel. So the little mouse type character you see on Jack's shoulder on the cover of the game, he's initially a human, but he's kind of Jack is silent, like he doesn't speak any dialogue. So he's like Link from The Legend of Zelda in that
Yeah.
sense, whereas Daxter is his mouthpiece.
Okay.
And as you go through the game, when you do specific things in play, you'll get some type of reaction from him. So like there's an objective in the game where you have to chase these group of seagulls to go to a certain location on the island where they disturb part of the environment, which causes a cliff to collapse, and you get a power cell, which is what you primarily try to collect in the game. As you're going to the seagulls, you hear him like yelling really obnoxious things, because that's what he is. He's a loudmouth teenage punk.
Hmm.
But it provides a little bit of comic relief, and breaks the tension a little bit, because the story is actually pretty
I
serious
was just
in a
looking at
sense.
this, and the voice of Daxter is Max Casella. And if you don't know who that is, he played Vinny on Doogie Howser and MD.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, his voice is very distinct, and his personality progresses throughout the sequels as well. Like he's that form of comic relief, because the sequels get even darker compared to the first one. So he's your typical comic relief, but
Yeah.
your primary mission is you want to try and turn him back to being human, but you find out this much larger story that you learn as you progress through the game, because the title The Precursor Legacy is about the precursors, which is an ancient civilization that mysteriously disappeared, and they left behind all this technology. There's an abandoned city that you find, and you unlock the mystery of them and their technology as you progress. And the primary antagonists are Gol and Maya Acheron. They're basically rogue sages that want to flood the world with dark eco, because they want to reshape the world in their images. There are certain sages that represent the different types of energy around the world. So eco, which is that energy, you use for different abilities. So like blue eco makes you faster and can open certain doors and activate certain machinery. Green eco replenishes your health, and red eco makes you stronger. And you get light eco as well, but in the final battle. Think of it as like the light arrow from the Zelda series. It's
Oh
that
yeah,
that's that item that you get
yeah,
right at the end of the game
yeah.
that it's crucial to winning it. But as far as the gameplay goes, it's also like Crash Bandicoot in a way. It has a little bit of an open world type of feel. Jack has limited attacks. You have a spin attack, which is another Crash Bandicoot callback. You have like I don't want to call it a drop kick, but you have this attack where you jump in the air and you do almost like a pile driver type of move, where you drive yourself into the ground to open certain areas, break certain boxes. But yeah, you go through the game. You collect these things called power cells that power different types of machinery that help you get to different points of the game. And that's Jak and Daxter in pretty much a nutshell as far as the gameplay goes.
How are
I
the controls for the game? Had they started to perfect the being able to use the right stick as like a to move the camera and control
Yep.
the character with the left? Because Yeah, it's hard to go back and play some of these games like this because they hadn't perfected that yet. Like this was the era they were really starting to get that.
It's not perfect. I'm going to be honest. It's still to the point where you can't control it well enough that, like, I died multiple times because of it. And that's a kind of a criticism
Yeah,
that I have of the game, is that it's better than earlier iterations of games that tried to do that, but it still hadn't quite got there yet.
yeah.
Um, as far as the controls, the attacks are pretty simple. Um, you only have a certain number of abilities, and uh, that's addressed later on in the games because the gameplay in the sequels is very different because you get the ability to use weapons like guns and things like that. But with this, you really have your punches, your kicks, your spins, and you're being powered by eco for a certain period of time. It's not a very challenging game because there's only, I think, three bosses
Oh
overall in
wow.
the game, or maybe four. No, there's three, but not all the bosses are even mandatory.
Huh.
Like the first boss you fight is this giant dark eco plant, and yeah, if you want to complete everything in the game, you want to collect all the power cells and everything, yeah, you can go fight it, but you don't have to, because it's in a temple that you don't even have to go into.
That's weird.
It is very weird. There's the second boss, which is a cyborg that you have to fight in order to go up the mountain pass. That boss you have to fight, and then you have the finale. So it's it could have been a little more challenging in that sense, because I like boss battles
Yeah,
in platforming type games. Like, they can be some of the most fun because you have to think of different creative ways
yeah.
to beat them and figure out their attack patterns and what you have to do and things like that. So
Well,
that aspect is lacking in this game for
yeah.
sure.
Well, you could definitely, you go back and look at all these old Naughty Dog games. I mean, even going back to Crash Bandicoot, it's kind of like you see those seeds being planted for what would eventually be the gameplay for the Uncharted series, which is they really by that point had perfected what they were doing. And
Hmm.
I would love to see them. Like, I think didn't they just release a new Jak and Daxter game not too like for the PlayStation 4?
It was a racing game,
Oh, was it?
I believe. So there's the Jak trilogy and then a racing game. So I think the racing game might have been
Yeah,
the
because
last one, because I think Jak 3 was for the PS3.
okay, because I was thinking that they did like a remaster or something like that of these games.
They may have. I Let me look real quick and see. Uh, it was one of the remastered ports in the Jak and Daxter collection for the PS3 and for the Vita,
Okay,
and then was released as a PS2 classic port on the PS4 in 2017.
okay,
That
yeah,
so Yeah, because the version I've been playing, the graphics aren't remastered. Like, you can tell it even has the old PlayStation 2 opening
yeah.
when you start the game. So,
Well, this
but
game sold a lot of copies. After its
yes,
release in 2001, it sold over 1 million copies, which put it in the greatest hits category, which reduced the price. I didn't know that's what that did once they hit the greatest hits thing. By July 2006, it sold 1.7, and let's see, combined sales of Jak and Daxter games reached 4 million units in the United States by July 2006. That's a lot of games.
and I forgot, honestly, that this game was that popular. Like, I remember playing it. I remember seeing it advertised, and all the magazines I read gave it good reviews. And I guess it's one of those games that, like, yeah, you look at the fact that it got two sequels, which a lot of games didn't
Yeah.
get. Like, you'd be lucky to get one. This game got two, but I still feel like it's not held in the same regard as like those classic platformers, and I don't know why.
Well, to be honest, I mean, this is one of those games that when you talk about the PlayStation 2, even though I never played this for the PlayStation 2, this is still one of those games that I think of when you talk about, the when we talk about the PlayStation 2. And I don't know why. It was just so synonymous with the PlayStation 2 at the time was Jak and Daxter. Maybe it was because they advertised the hell out of it. I'm not sure, but I remember seeing just Jak and Daxter. It was all over the place around this time.
Well, it says here, Game Informer said that next to Rayman 2, Jak and Daxter is the best 3D platformer available for the PlayStation 2, and it was a runner-up for GameSpot's annual Best Platform Game Award, only losing out to Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Wow.
So, and it was held in pretty high regard. You look at the reviews, IGN gave it a 9.4, OPM gave it a 10.
Wow.
GameSpot an 8.8, Game Informer 9.25. And I mean, there's really not a lot of flaws in this game. I mentioned the camera, and going back and playing it, it's not as challenging in the sense that there aren't really any boss battles except for the two that I mentioned. Well, three if you count the one that's not a requirement. But there is a lot to do. There are a lot of different objectives. You get to drive vehicles to you try and collect power cells, and you do different things with them. There's a lot of areas to explore, including a jungle, a beach area. You get to go back to Misty Island. There's the Lost Precursor City, which is way different than any of the other areas. Like it's one of those that you kind of stumble upon it by
Yeah.
accident, and you get on this elevator that takes you below the ocean, and then you're in just this giant city that's overrun by these beasts called lurkers, and they're the primary things that you fight. There are different types of lurkers, but they're the monsters that have been released by the rogue sages to try and take over the world and everything. So it's a very solid platformer game, and one that I kind of regret not giving it the credit that it deserved back then, because platformers, like I grew up on those games.
Yeah.
It's still arguably my favorite type of game to play. So I've been very happy with going back over these last couple of weeks and playing it pretty extensively. And I have the sequels, and I want to play through them as well, because I actually never played Jak 3. I
Mhm.
played through Jak 2 quite a bit, but I never got around to the third one because I didn't have a PS3.
Yeah, I might have to go back and play some of these because, like I said, I never played any of these and was always curious, but just never got around to it.
If that deal is still on the PlayStation Store, I highly recommend it.
Yeah,
The Jak and Daxter collection for $20.
it's not bad at all.
I mean, you get 4 games for $20. So
But going back on its 20th anniversary, how does it hold up? What kind of a number grade would you give it here in 2021?
I don't know that I would give it a perfect 10 like OPM did. I like it quite a bit, and I maybe my review is a little jaded because I know what Jak 2 did, and I actually like Jak 2 better.
Mhm.
But I'll save those reasons for when I review that game. I would say I'd give it a solid 8. Like I
It's
think
not bad.
it's a good, very solid platformer game. It's got some cool characters. Daxter can get a little annoying if you aren't a fan of his type of humor. I personally got a kick out of it. The controls are easy. It's a fun game to step in. It's got a cool story. It does a lot of world building as the game progresses. You get to learn more about the precursors, the history of the world. It's a good game. So I'd say a solid 8.
Awesome. Yeah, so I think it's worth the purchase price, whether you're buying it
Yes.
the $20 bundle or even if you have a PlayStation 2 that you is still a working PlayStation 2, worth going back and picking up a copy.
Yep, because as you said, it's one of those games that is synonymous with the PlayStation 2. Like I think this Kingdom Hearts and maybe Sly Cooper
Oh yeah.
is I would probably associate those with the PS2, but definitely Jak and Daxter and Kingdom
I
Hearts.
just remember at the time seeing Jak and Daxter commercials all the time, and I think that's why it's just so synonymous with the PlayStation 2 because it was heavily advertised. I remember that at the time.
Yeah, yeah. But it's fun to go back and revisit.
Well, awesome. That's going to bring us to the end of the episode. Hope everybody had a good time. Hope everybody's having a good holiday. And next week is going to be our sort of roundtable ish review of Knights of the Old Republic, which we're going to have Mr. Mike Evelyn from B Res Coffee is going to be here, and Reagan Bell from the Fantastic People podcast is going to be here with us next week. So this is going to be a good discussion. I'm very much looking forward to it next week. And I don't know if did you ever play it, Derek? Knights of the Old Republic?
Oh yeah, no, I love
Oh,
those games.
so good. I'm glad they didn't wipe that from the the canon because they're actually making Old Republic stuff. So thank you for keeping it in the timeline, Disney. Stupid mouse.
Praise the mouse.
Yeah. No, they're not paying us, so screw that mouse. Unless you want to sponsor us, Disney, then Mickey's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, no, he's great.
I'm giving Wally a heart attack right now. But that's going to bring us to the end of the episode. Tell everybody what's going on in your world. Go check out the Feature Prez Pod Twitter and Instagram. You got so many people on there now.
I've still got work to do with Facebook and Twitter. I think I need to just pick your brain about Twitter because it's an animal that I cannot figure out.
Dude, I have fought and clawed for all 570 followers we have for this show. It's so hard to get followers on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm learning that too. But no, I've been doing some really good interviews for the new show coming out, and I don't know what it is, but when I these interviews that I've done, they've felt different, but different in a good way. Like I feel
Yeah.
like they've been better. Like I've been doing a better job conducting them, and I've got two potentially really cool interviews lined up for this week. I don't want to say who they're with because I don't want to jinx it,
Yeah.
but once they happen, I will let everyone know who they're with.
Well, it's a whole new energy when you got a new show coming up, new format. This is
Yep.
exciting. It's like, wow, I can't wait to hear this when it comes out.
Yeah, God, I've been hyping it up enough. So hopefully, hopefully, yeah. So, yeah, the first episode drops January 5th of 2022. I'm probably going to have two interviews with it. It's going to be a pretty jam-packed show. I'm going to be reviewing Spider-Man: No Way Home because it'll be out by that point. The new Matrix movie will be out. I guess I can go ahead and break this. You mentioned Reagan Bell. He and Christian Jones from over at the Fantastic People podcast, they will actually be joining me for a segment on the first episode of
Oh,
my new
that's cool.
show. We'll be discussing top 5 movies that we're looking forward to in 2022.
Oh
So
yeah.
be on the lookout for a post on all social media for if you want to submit your top 5, we'll read it on the show.
Fantastic. And of course, we are over there is still chugging along at the Open Micers podcast at Open Micers on Twitter and Instagram. We talked to Mo Alexander again last week. He came back for a second time because he likes us for some reason, so he wanted to come back on the show. And funny as ever, so go check out the Open Micers podcast. This week we've got comedian Duncan Stonestreet back for a trifecta. He's the first guest to have 3 appearances on the show. So go check us out. Open Micers on Twitter and Instagram. And I think that's about it.
I got to say something about the Mo Alexander
Oh,
episode.
yeah?
So I like to think that I have a pretty ironclad stomach
Mhm.
because I can eat really anything from Taco Bell and it doesn't bother me at all. But just hearing the phrase gas station boudin made my stomach hurt.
Dude, why would you eat that? There's no reason
I
to eat that ever.
Two words, death wish.
Yeah, if you eat gas station boudin, you deserve what's coming to you.
Yeah, as soon as that phrase was mentioned, I'm like,
No.
I just thinking about it makes my stomach hurt. I'm just like, no, why would you punish yourself like
Yeah.
that?
There's
But
no reason for that. That's
I,
awful.
I forgot to mention if you want to follow my new show on social media, it's at Feature Pres Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and play our music here. Whoa, why did you not start from the beginning? What is going on with? Okay, soundboard. You're not gonna start this. You're not gonna start off the new year messing with me like this, soundboard. We're not gonna do this again. Okay, you hear me? You hear me? Do I need to take you in the bathroom and have a talk? Let's scare it into acting right.
Hopefully so.
All right, here we go. If you'd like to email us, you can email us at nerdcaveretro@gmail.com. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/nerdcaveretro. We're on Instagram and Twitter at nerdcaveretro, and individually at jfunktastic and at Derek_Diamond. We have merch available, ncrmerch.com. You can go get pillows and t-shirts, and we've been selling a lot of stuff for Christmas, so I think they got some sales going on right now. So go head over there, ncrmerch.com, get yourself a t-shirt, pillow, phone case, whatever you need. Can't do that? Head over to patreon.com/nerdcaveretro. Throw us $1 a month to keep the lights on here at the show. If you can't do that, at least leave us a review wherever fine podcasts are given away for free. So Derek, please tell them what it's all about.
May the way of the hero lead to the Triforce.
Yes.
Master Blaster runs Bartertown.
And that was a fun episode.
That was. I felt like that's one of the better reviews I've done in quite a
Oh,
while.
yeah. This stupid soundboard, man. I don't know why it's acting all goofy tonight. Every time I try to click something, it either wouldn't play or it would start like in the middle. Like, what are you doing to me, soundboard?
Did it do that during open micers?
Well, I only have one thing I got to play an open micer, so long as it plays the one song, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I guess I need to update it. I don't know.
Yeah, it might just be worth a restart.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching on Twitch, and we'll be watching on YouTube. And if you're listening, we will see you guys next Wednesday. Goodbye.